I meditate a lot, but most of the time, I don't seem to get any results. When I cannot quieten my mind, is all my effort wasted, or will it bear fruit at some future time? Most minds are like wet wood. They need a long period of drying out before they catch fire. While your mind is on the self, it is drying out. When it is on the world, it is getting wet again. The effort you expend in keeping the mind turned towards the self is never wasted. It is only wasted when you lose interest and revert to your old mental habits. Don't worry if your efforts do not produce immediate results. Sooner or later, you will get your reward. The art of being. When I first started meditating, I had an intense desire for liberation. This period lasted for 3 to 4 years. In the last 12 months, my enthusiasm has been slipping. I now seem to be more and more content with my worldly life. The satisfaction which comes from the outside world is transient. At death, it will all be lost. Human life is given to you for the sole purpose of realizing the self. If you die without realizing the self, your life has been wasted. Death can come at any time. I am telling you this so that you will become aware of your own death. If you are constantly aware of the possibility that you may die at any moment, your enthusiasm will increase. You sometimes say that we should love all people equally, that we should give love to the whole world. For me, love is something that just happens. I cannot manufacture it and give it away. If I feel love for someone, the love flows towards them. If I don't, it doesn't happen, and I can't make it happen. How do I learn to love people I hardly know? And when I have learned that, how do I learn to love all the millions of strangers I have never met and will never meet? You can start with the people you know. Bhagavan taught by example that we should only see good in other people. Virtually all people are a mixture of good and bad. It is very rare to find someone who is wholly good or wholly bad. If you have to come into contact with a lot of people, try to make yourself aware of their good points and don't dwell on their bad points. If you see good in people, you radiate a harmonious, loving energy which uplifts those who are around you. If you can maintain this habit, this energy will soon turn into a steady flow of love. Try to be aware at all times that everything you see and perceive is the self. If you see the self in other people, your love automatically flows towards them. You gain nothing by thinking that someone is a bad person. If negative thoughts arise each time you see or think of a particular person, these thoughts will draw you away from the self. Try to radiate your love equally to all people instead of just a few. Try to feel that the whole world is yourself, your God. Try to see the self in all people. Spread your love in all directions as an act of worship and surrender, because everything in the world is a manifestation of God. I have been meditating for many years. Sometimes when I sit, I feel a great energy which alternately straightens and arcs the torso. I am very aware of this power. It keeps my attention on the body and makes it very difficult for me to be aware of the self. The mind and the body are both inert. Any energy or peace you experience can only come from the self. Drop the identity with the body. These experiences are making you too body conscious. Just be aware of the self and try to pay as little attention as possible to the body. The self is pure energy, pure power. Hold on to that. Is the energy one receives from the self constant, or does it fluctuate? Does the body or the mind store it in any way? In deep sleep, the mind and the body are renewed. On awakening, there is a feeling of energy and bliss, but almost immediately, the sense organs become active and desires arise. When this happens, the energy you have stored up during sleep gets dissipated. If you can control the mind and the senses so that neither of them succumbs to external stimuli, you can build up energy and power in the body. Bhagavan was fond of telling the story of the lame monkey king who had lost his power and position. He went alone to the forest for some days to regain his power. When he returned, he had accumulated enough power and energy to take over his tribe again. Energy is increased in solitude. When you are alone, it is less likely to go out through the five senses and the mind. Can't some use be made of this energy? What can one do with it? Sakti is the self, and the self is Sakti. When you know that you are not the body or the mind, how can you do anything? In that state, there will be no I to instigate any activity. In that state, everything will happen automatically. Water in a lake sustains many life forms: fish and plants inside the water, trees, plants, and animals along the shoreline. If you are filled with the energy of the self, that energy flows out of you and nourishes everyone in your vicinity. You don't have to direct this power outwards. If you have done enough tapas, this energy will flow of its own accord. Sakti is the sand of the self. If you do tapas, and if you don't dissipate your energy through sensory indulgence, you will feel the power of the self accumulating inside you. You can also feel it radiating outwards to the people around you. You don't lose your power when you radiate it naturally like this, because the power of the self is infinite. You only lose it if you move your attention away from the self and get involved in pointless mental and sensory excesses.